Welcome to this new functionality, ADAS functionality, which we are going to discuss in detail. The functionality's name is blind spot detection. Now, what is this blind spot detection? Okay, let me give you a small context. Drivers, when they are taught to drive, they are taught to assess the surrounding traffic before changing lanes by checking their rear view mirror and side mirrors and looking over the each shoulder. Okay, anybody who knows driving knows what I'm talking about. When they join a learning school or driving school, the instructor will teach you should constantly look over your shoulder, you should constantly look over your rear view, so that you can have a clear cut idea about who is coming in the adjacent lanes, so that you can be careful when you are shifting from one lane to other lane. Okay, and everybody usually they rely on the rear view mirror, whether on the central rear view mirror or the side rear view mirror. All these things they rely on, and they assess, and then they make a decision. But however, there is something called blind spot. There is some. I will clearly explain you what is a blind spot while explaining the video. Right now, you understand that there is something called blind spot. The area alongside, side, and just behind the vehicle. Now, this sentence is very important. Let me point out along the side and just behind the vehicle. It is a constant source of danger and often the cause of serious accidents. To make changing lanes safer, the blind spot detection warns of impending collision. So, to make changing lanes safer, now this is important. This blind spot detection functionality is exclusively important when you are changing lanes. Now let me draw in a very crude manner. You will even understand better when you see the video. For example, this is your car. Okay, drawing is not coming as possible. This is your car and you are going in this direction. Now this is your rear view mirror. Sometimes what happen is, when you want to come to this lane, the next lane, there may be a vehicle which is present here. Despite the presence of rear view mirror, sometimes if you are sitting here, this vehicle which I am highlighting here, this may not fall into the field of view of this rear view mirror. So then the driver assumes there is nobody in the lane, and then he makes a drastic shift to the left lane. This may lead to some kind of collision, this may lead to some kind of accident which can even be fatal, especially when instead of the car there is a bike or a cycle. That can even be dangerous, because it is a usual perception that the bigger vehicle is at fault, right? So when the car collides with a bike, assuming there's nobody in the lane, then and bike driver suffers some kind of casualty or fatality, then it will be a very serious problem for both the for the driver and of course the person who lost his life. All right, so to mitigate this particular risk, this blind spot detection functionality is developed. Now you can see here, here there is a small blinking mechanism, a blinking functionality which warns the driver that there is somebody or something in the lane, and it encourages you to be more cautious. Okay. Now, how does the operation principle of the blind spot detection? The basic variant of blind spot detection can be implemented using ultrasonic sensors or corner radar sensors. Now, observe this drawing very carefully. Now, these are the two sensors. One sensor is present here and other sensor is present here. It may be ultrasonic sensor or radar sensor. But here, let me take the example of radar. Now, when the two corner radar sensors are installed there, if another vehicle is situated in the monitored area, the driver is alerted to the potential danger. This word is important. Driver is alerted. Again, this is only assist system. It does not do anything by itself. So driver is alerted by the potential danger by means of warning sign in the side mirror. If the driver fails to spot or ignores this warning and activates the turn signal to change the lane, the system can trigger an additional warning. So despite the warning which I showed in the previous slide, the small blinking, despite the warning, if the driver changes, then the system can trigger an additional warning. Now the system recognizes stationary objects or alongside the vehicle such as guardrails, masts, parked vehicles, as well as the driver's own overtaking maneuvers, and does not trigger the warning in this case. Okay, so please understand this very carefully. And there is an advanced variant of blind spot detection works by using two corner radar sensors that are concealed in rear bumper, one on the left and one on the right. Now as you can see here, there are two sensors, one on the right and one on the left. Okay, now these two sensors monitor the area alongside and behind the car, and powerful control software collates the sensor information to create a complete picture of all the traffic in the area behind the vehicle. Now this is very important. So these two sensors, it collates, it gathers or it accumulates the traffic information, and it warns the driver that when, if at all the driver, observe this carefully, wants to make a sudden change to the right, this signal or this functionality, it clearly signals to the driver or warns to the driver that there is a car here and you are maneuvering the car into the lane is going to be dangerous. Alright, now this is called the operation of blind spot detection, and the rear corner sensors exceed the sensing range. Let me take a different alright, now the rear corner sensors exceed the sensing range of the ultrasonic sensors. Now the one advantage of radar is it has a higher range than ultrasonic sensors. Okay, now ultrasonic sensors, it is usually based for parking functionality. So that means during parking functionality, usually the vehicle's velocity is very less, as everybody can know that during parking vehicle is going very slowly. So, and in contrast to the ultrasonic based system, even fast approaching vehicles can thus be detected at an early stage. Now this is one huge advantage of radar. So contrast to the ultrasonic system, radars can detect a fast moving vehicle at an early stage before the lane change. Alright, now this is the reason why many OEMs are preferring radars rather than ultrasonic sensors. But of course, ultrasonic sensors have one advantage when it comes to cost. Ultrasonic sensors are cheaper, so that's the reason, depending upon the cost, depending upon the premium level of the vehicle, ultrasonic sensors also can be used. Alright, now let's see this video, which will give you a clear-cut idea what this blind spot detection is. Observe this video very carefully.
Blind spot warning system. Blind spot warning system provides added safety. It is designed to warn the driver about approaching vehicle in the blind spot. Blind spot warning system can be activated or deactivated from the infotainment system. When there is an approaching vehicle the right adjacent area or in the left adjacent area, the warning lamp on the corresponding ORVM will be turned on. When there is an approaching vehicle in the left or right adjacent area and you intend to change the lane by turning on the indicator, the warning lamp on the corresponding ORVM will start flashing. The system alerts the driver of potentially hidden vehicles by displaying a visual signal on the ORVM. Blind spot warning is based on radar system. The BSD will be enabled when the vehicle speed is above 30 km per hour and below 120 km per hour.
Now let's see one more interesting video.
Around 5% of all accidents occur during lane changes or overtaking maneuvers because the driver has failed to see an adjacent vehicle in the blind spot area. To improve safety in such situations, Bosch has developed the Side View Assist, the world's first ultrasonic blind spot monitoring system. Side View Assist employs 4 highly sensitive ultrasonic sensors integrated into both ends of the front and rear bumpers. The sensors monitor the traffic in the neighboring lane in a 3-meter area alongside and diagonally to the rear, covering precisely the dangerous blind spot zone. The system is activated from walking speed and supports the driver in complex traffic situations at speeds of up to 180 kilometers per hour. It is thus especially suited for use in urban traffic. As soon as the Side View Assist detects a vehicle moving parallel, an LED warning signal lights up in the side view mirror, gently informing the driver that another vehicle is in close proximity. If in such a situation, the driver then signals to indicate a lane change, the blind spot monitoring assistant triggers an audible warning as well. The system informs the driver of vehicles that are overtaking, as well as those already within the blind spot area. Warnings are only given for vehicles that pose a potential risk during lane change. Oncoming traffic, road infrastructure, and vehicles being speedily overtaken are recognized by the system, but do not trigger a warning. The Side View Assist from Bosch simulates to some degree the over-the-shoulder check, and thus supports the driver in safely maneuvering a vehicle through the complexities of everyday traffic.
Bosch, invented for life.
Okay, I hope both the videos gave you a very clear-cut idea about the efficacy of this blind spot detection. Especially the second video, it clearly reminded you how it can ease your over-the-shoulder looking into the traffic. Okay, instead of concentrating on the road, if you are distracted to look over your shoulder to the behind of the car, even that split second can cause an accident. Even that split second can make the driver distract, thereby losing concentration on the road which is ahead of him. So this blind spot detection very much eases your over the shoulder looking back. All right, now let's see this general ADAS architecture. Let me take a pen. All right. First is environment. What is the environment in which this blind spot detection functionality is working? This functionality works in rear and side areas to the vehicle blind spot. Now, this environment is exclusively to the rear and side area. These are nothing to do with the front. For example, some functionality like automotive emergency braking or adaptive cruise control, their environment is strictly in the front of the vehicle. But this particular functionality has strictly to the rear and side areas of the vehicle. Next, what is the sensor layer? Now, this sensor layer, I have mentioned short and mid-range radars. Even though ultrasonic sensor sometimes is being used, but many OEMs are slowly but surely phasing out ultrasonic sensors, despite the obvious advantage of lower cost. Because short range radars or mid-range radars are doing the same job which ultrasonic sensors are doing. That's the reason I just mentioned here range radars. But just for your information, I will add ultrasonic sensors also, USS. So just keep it in mind, ultrasonic sensors also can be used. But again, mid-range radars are becoming more and more predominant. Now, what is the perception layer? What exactly is perceived by this? It perceives the presence of the objects in the field of view in the blind spot, and it calculates the speed, distance, relative velocity. Now, this is what I mentioned when I was extolling the efficacy of the radars. Why radars are becoming more and more important? Because radar is capable of calculating speed and distance and relative velocity faster than ultrasonic sensor. Okay, so this can give you more real-time data than ultrasonic sensor, and that's the reason radars are becoming more and more popular. Now, what is the decision making layer? And this decision making layer comes into picture only when the turn signal is on. So when there is something in your blind spot, and then, or rather even then, if the vehicle wants to move to the adjacent lane, it is then this alerts the driver. Okay, if there's nothing in the blind spot, and if you want to go into adjacent lane, this won't do anything, this won't interfere. It is only when something is in the blind spot, or when the functionality suspects that there is an impending collision, if you take a drastic lane change, then this decision making layer comes into picture, and it warns the driver or encourages the driver to be more cautious. All right, now next comes the actuation layer. Actuation layer, well, what is the actuation layer? It can be visual, audio. Usually this visual and audio can be put together. Usually there is something called a beep sound and also a blinking mechanism on the rear view mirror. ORVM. What does the ORVM stand for? Optical rear view mirror. On the ORVM, there can be a small blinking and also accompanied by a small audio from your dashboard. So this will give you both the audio and visual warning that there is some impending vehicle in the adjacent lane. Or of course, so as a standard tactile and haptic, like seat belt tightening and loosening also can be used. Or it can even be automatic emergency braking. Automatic emergency braking can also come into picture. If there is an impending collision, then maybe this automatic emergency braking can brake the vehicle, and it can prevent the accident from happening. Okay, so this is also very important part of the actuation layer. Okay, hope all of you got a clear cut idea about general ADAS architecture and about the blind spot detection. All right, thank you.